friends. Yeah, I know. I'm playing around with some intros and exit clips for the channel, and I'm telling you, it's a challenge, right? I mean, finding free royalty free stuff and stuff that looks like what we got that's not copyrighted, etc., etc. Yet you just still never know until you post it, whether or not somebody's got a claim on it, yada yada, etc., etc. Trying to make the channel look a little snazzier without being over the top. Sometimes simplistic's the easiest, yet it's also the least exciting. I mean, just to be straightforward, I'm kind of stoked because I actually reached 150 subscribers. It tends to fluctuate up and down a couple every month. Right now we're at 150, which is a new high for me. Uh, I don't know how to go about getting more. The algorithms that YouTube uses, it's really not meant for. This just we're you either strike it or you can't. And I have a second channel called The Grease Man Cometh. It's was originally for work related stuff because I do some pretty weird stuff in my job, and it never really I never got excited about it, so it just sat stagnant. And then lately I got into a jag on Bob Lazar. If you don't know who Bob Lazar is, Googling. But I got some videos up, my talking points and opinions on the subject, and for the Pete's sake, those videos, I only have 2 subscribers to the channel. Both of them are my phone and phone related and laptop related, and yet I'm getting hundreds of hits on those videos, and some of them only been up they've only been up maybe a month or so, and I got one that's almost got 200 hits on it. So it's a very Bob Lazar is a very excitable subject to lots of people at least pop in and glance at the channel. I know not everybody watches my videos to their length because some of them are lengthy and I am not the most smooth orator out there. I mean, it's obvious I have a little bit of dyslexia going on, and the fact that I'm just bombastic and opinionated doesn't mean I'm very articulated when it comes to presenting things and talking about stuff. So as a rule, when I subscribe to other people's channels, I don't always watch their material either. But if I see it prop up, I go in and hit the like button. If for no other reason than to support their channel, I hit the like button. Not that it really does a whole lot, but it brings in the occasional what have you. So the fact is, these things are going to be on YouTube for I don't know how many years. I don't know if there's a point where they actually remove stuff from the channel or from your stuff. Uh, could be indefinite for all I know, right? So that's just my 2 cents on that. Anyway, this is Denizens of the Darkwood. It is a ready-to-made adventure module for J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth, MERP, from Iron Crown Enterprises. 3 low to mid-level adventures based on Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And each one they're set in an area right in here on the map. This is Esgroth or Long Lake. This would be the original city, not the one they see in the movies or in The Hobbit. They talk about it, the old pillars out in the swampy area from the original city that Smaug knocked down. So that would be this city, and it's something they don't talk about in the movies or even in the books that much. It's kind of gives you the impression that Long Lake is the only human settlement of any significance within the entire northeastern area with Mirkwood stuff. And we know the ruins of Dale, and of course prior and after the dwarves occupying Erebor, minus Smaug's era, that Dale is a significant city unto itself. So that would give us 2 cities. And we have dwarven settlements and the Iron Hills. We have Thunderel's Elven Kingdom and northeastern Mirkwood. We know that Roan and Dorwinin lie to the east, to the southeast. It's fairly considerable. The edges of it are down here in the corner of this particular map, which is actually a much more heavily settled region than this neck of the woods up here, for numerous reasons for that. circa 1640. This module suggests that there are other settlements. If you look at the map that comes with it, there are a few little settlements and ruins of settlements that crop up here and there. It is a pretty hostile area. At one time, the Rohirrim's ancestors dominated this whole area and a number of tribes, and then they came into constant conflict with the Wainwriters and certain easterling tribes that were migrating to the west or being pushed to the west, depending on who and how the history facts take into account. Then the Rohirrim moved to this area and dominate it for some years and are in conflict with the Orcs of Gundabad and Mount Graham and other places, as well as the Dwarven tribes having moved into the Iron Mountains for treasure and to come into conflict with the various dragons and stuff that are up there, and Orc tribes. Eventually, the dwarves are driven out, and they return to the Erebor and the Iron Hills. The Rohirrim ancestors answer a call in Gondor and ride south, and eventually to come to Gondor's aid, the writing of the Earl of Earl, and establish Rohan as it's known in the books and the movies from that point out. And we're looking at the roughly 1640. This takes place 64 years after the Great Plague. This particular village is noted at the beginning that it's isolated in the edges of the forest, which means that it doesn't suffer from the plague like other places further away that are largely populated, but it does give us grounds for that there should be other small human settlements. I know that depending on the historical timeline, there are actually this area called the Eastern Blight, which is down here, and I'm not going to push the map up, that not blight with an L, but it's an area that a human kingdom actually was settled in existence for a number of years and then failed. We know that the Baronings and the woodland humans have the woodmen have some villages and settlements and stuff over here in the Anduin Valley. They rise and fall in strength. There's always seems to be some woodland tribes, the woodland men living in even at the era of the War of the Ring, although they're very diminished and very keep to themselves. Otherwise, the spiders and the goblin or orcs and stuff will get to them, etc., etc. We're talking the era of 1640. So when this is taking place, Gondor is still reeling from the aftermath of the plague. Arthedain is still fighting its slow decline and constant low-level warfare with Angmar, the Witch King, up to the northwest and west. We have elements of Gondor who are in conflict with the Harridan, and to the southeast, the Corsairs and Umber, and various tribes to the east and northeast that are coming over the plains, the Wainwriters and Easterlings of various elements. For the most part, all of these human entities are kind of in a limbo check at the moment. They're somewhat in survival mode because they too were affected by the plague and they're reeling. The elves are keeping to themselves. The occasional elvish foray and day trip or thing like that going on, but for the most part, the wood elves do what elves do, isolate themselves and keep to themselves because they live in a whole different world and mindset. The same thing goes with the elves in Lothlorien. Moria is, of course, in the grips of the Balrog and various orc tribes. There's a few orc tribes going on in the mountains, the Misty Mountains. The Shire's just recently been settled in the last 30 or 40 years, and is thriving and growing and spreading slowly as they do, isolated and protected as they are by Arthedain. Cardolan has fallen and some years back and is no longer, although in a very Tharbad is still settled, although in very bad shape. At the time, it's my understanding that the plague pretty much is the last straw for the human settlers living, human descendants of Cardolan and prior to that, R&R, who lived in the region, are now going to bug out. The Dun landings are of course, the Dunman to the south and southwest are more isolated and less affected by the plague, but they still have their issues. Most of it's intertribal, so they're not doing a whole lot to Gondor's borders, and they don't interfere with, other than going to enlisting in the mercenary human battalions working for the Witch King and Angmar. They pretty much keep their own. So we got the Denizens of the Dark Wood, which, like I said, if you look at my map here, and you can see the area. I guess I wouldn't want to push it up, but there you go. Anyway, the Necromancer's presence in the Mirkwood has lengthened the shadows of darkening forest. The ease orcs, the Grey Mountains, move south through the Grey Mountains, not Iron Mountains. South of the trees, giant spiders congregate in larger numbers. Trolls emerge from their caves more frequently. Several lads and lasses of Algerstad, a hamlet at the forest edge and due west of Lake Town, have disappeared without trace. Will you risk unknown dangers to find and rescue the missing youths in Addercop attack? A merchant based in Lake Town has lost a caravan to trolls along the Minen Nongun of the Dwarven Trail. Dwarven Road. Will you face the dread Trag and recover Master Olson's goods and discover the fate of his hirelings and trouble with trolls? A varying warrior has learned of the tithes of the necromancer from the last of the orcs he slew while traveling through Mirkwood. Will you accompany Grimbold into the forest to waylay the treasure before it enters the necromancer's citadel in the tithing train? Combat giant spiders, trolls, and orcs of the Fahaz Bolgum. That would be these fine fellows right here. When you attack the Denizens of the Dark Wood in these 3 exciting adventures. Yay, alright, I hear the bug. That's it again. Alright. Fine. Hey. Okay. Yeah. Denizens and Dark Woods. And this was copyright 1989. So I purchased this in 89 when it came out. Like I said, I was pretty religious whenever I went to the Ivor's Dungeon, which was the game store I went to when I was a young man, and every week, every paycheck, I went and I spent an average of $50 of 1980s, late 80 money. I was making 5 something, 6 something an hour, so that was a significant piece of my paycheck. Of course, I was living with my parents, letting them worry about things like rent and electric bills and what have you, and I was doing my best to work and party at convenience stores, which, by the way, on my other YouTube channel, I have started retelling some of the dramatic tales of my experiences in the convenience store industry. Now, my second one will be posted later today on the Grease Man Cometh. The incident where late at night a dark figure comes running down the street nude in the middle of winter at 10 degrees and then tries to get into the store, and I wouldn't let him. And I can only speculate as to what he was doing out there and why. The previous video I posted had to do with some fine ladies coming in after in Iowa they stopped selling liquor at 2 o'clock. You can't buy booze between 2 and 6 a.m. And these fine ladies come in and get really irate. And I actually carry scars on my biceps from these ladies. And they were over a 6-month, 2 different situations that were very similar, and in both cases ended up with me getting scars on my arms from straight edges because I wouldn't sell them liquor after hours. Now, just saying, right? Okay. So, anyway, here's our overview map of Mirkwood, Addercop, attack. And we all know about the spiders. If you've seen The Hobbit, you know well. If you read The Hobbit, you know well. Fear in Algerstad. 6 months ago, Algerstad began to experience problems with riding wild animals. Wolves had twice attacked the town, twice been repulsed. People of the village, accustomed to living in peace, have never before kept guards or any time armed force. The first attack, they reinforced the wall around the town, posted a night watch. In addition, townspeople began practicing martial arts and keeping weapons nearby at all times. Which you would think if you lived in the edges of Mirkwood that you would, never mind. 2 months ago, a farmer set out from Argostead from his farm in the north. The young man came alone 2 years before, still unmarried, so his disappearance might have gone unnoticed for some time. He hadn't promised to bring his neighbor's seed from town. When he neglected to stop by his neighbor's farm the next day, they became concerned. When he still hadn't returned by the end of the week, the neighbor sent to town to learn what had happened and discovered he had never arrived there. Man disappeared without a trace, leaving behind his moderately successful farm. 3 weeks later, a peddler left Angerstein announcing his plans to visit another farm in the north. When the peddler, or when the farmer Wesson visited Alderstadt the following week, learned that the peddler never arrived at the farm, etc., etc. 2 weeks after the peddler disappeared, 3 young men went out game hunting up the northern trail, and they did not return. At this point, the farmers and citizens are afraid, and they sense a way to Waterdeep to hire some help to come out and figure out what's going on, i.e., the player characters. You, right? The NPCs, the terrain. It says this adventure takes place in the easternmost section of northern Mirkwood. Even at its edge, the forest is densely wooded, dim, stifling, and oppressive. Trees, mostly coniferous, are old. They grow so thickly they block out the sun and the undergrowth. The land cushioned by pine needles since Sauron's return, becoming rooting evil. Yeah. You know the story. Angerstedt lies 20 miles due west of Esgaroth, near Lake Town, nearly a mile from Mirkwood's edge, an expanse of field and meadow between the forest proper and a stand of woods east of the hamlet. The village is enclosed by log palisades surrounded by farmland, boasts a smithy, a couple small businesses, general store, mostly serving the farmers in the region. So we have our breakdown of the community itself. Farmers' houses, blacksmith, general store, meeting hall, etc. So, approaching the spider's lair. Spider's lair located 500 yards west of the path leading to Wesson's farm, surrounding the forest, very dense. There's those strands of web high in the trees, so it wouldn't be totally hard to spot them and follow them. And we general encounters the spider's lair. Picture of the spider's lair. Captives, refuse pile. 2 vaguely human-shaped cocoons are hanging in the webs 15 feet off the ground. Cocoons are carefully open. They reveal Rennell and Curl. Both are in poor shape. They can barely walk and will be of no help to the party, with each one insists on saving the other. Okay. The task, pretty straightforward. Find and eliminate spiders and rescue the survivors. Starting the players, obstacles, aids. 2 major obstacles to complete each adventure. The party must be able to find the spider's lair and then must kill the spiders. The other part, the spiders have only been dying on feasting party. Pretty straightforward, right? The encounters, the rewards. Dish of the 100 gold pieces offered. Killing the spiders. The party may keep the spiders garbage. Yeah. Gotta dig through. How many? Come on. We've all been there. How many adventures have we been on as characters? You end up sifting through the garbage of the refuse pile. Somebody's going to go through the latrine because you never know what might get thrown down there. There's always somebody, right? Adventure number 2, or 4.0, Trouble with Trolls. This adventure may follow from the preceding scenario, Adder, Cop, attacking, or can stand alone. It's not, however, intended for first-level player characters, being a party size. Ideally, being is that your character party starting out at first level, or 0 level if you're a real douche like someone. I like to, never mind. Start them out low. And by the time they get done with the spiders, they should have leveled up to level 2, 3, somewhere in there, which means they should be able to handle a couple trolls. So, the difference, though, is, of course, unlike some modules, but some modules do. The idea being is that you can come in and you can run different adventures out of these modules for MERP and not have them interconnected if you don't want to. So, as a prime example, being a lazy GM on many occasions, I have a group of players that were traveling from here. Maybe they were traveling from Bree to Dale, and instead of suddenly they have an encounter, either roll randomly a random encounter with trolls, or I just think, hey, they're in a great area for a troll encounter, and I can either just pop one up on the fly, or I can just grab one of these modules where it's already existing, pop it out, bing bang boom, there you have it, right? So you can either have them interlinked as part of ongoing adventures or individual standalones, which is what it's saying here. But for the most part, I'm talking to I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know that. You don't need my help. The Lost Caravan. It says here, once home, thousands of animal flocks of singing birds, Mirkwood, in Third Age 1640s, grown eerily silent. The human population, never very large, has been reduced by plague of 1636 and a famine that followed. The birds and most of the animals, from giant eagles to thrushes, from bears to wolves to squirrels to mice, survived the plague, but now they are trouble. Shallow, darker, and crueler. We all know the story. Right. So this particular merchant, Than Olsen Askaroth, especially concerned about the dangers of the Dwarven Road. From his store in Lake Town, he trades with peoples of all races in the town, as well as dwarves in the Iron Hills, elves and men in Mirkwood, some of his goods, etc., etc. So he got some goods in a wagon. At the bottom of the wagon, they're coming back from dealing with some dwarves, and they picked up some very valuable metals. I think I believe it's some mithril, a couple little things in mithril, and he's got a stash in a hidden compartment, and the trolls, of course, don't know about it. But he's keen on getting that stuff back, especially that particular part of it, and if possible, rescuing his employees. The employees are important too. Yeah, just did you get the? Did you save Joe? You saved Joe? All right, we're good to go. Where's my wagon? You didn't check the wagon? You didn't look for the secret compartment? No? But you got Joe? You guys are... Right. Okay. The NPCs. Rossmar One Leg, Morlock, Fredrock, Elsra, the Troll Band. Fredrock is the ringleader of the Troll Band. His average height for a troll is 10'3", but uglier than most. Tangled, mad, brown, blah, blah. He is a really, really fine-looking, handsome fellow. And his band of, other Termag and Turnag are twin brothers. And Ernick. Ernick's very hideous and terrible personnel. Yeah. I got a picture of Fernag, Frandurg, right here. Fine, outstanding, handsome fellow for a troll. The train on the trail of the trolls, the troll lair, path, dealing with trolls. Maybe the encounters coming up. Depends on how much you want the characters to level up. You could potentially, because it allows for the option of encountering these trolls away from the lair, depending on the time of day, obviously night, and perhaps individually or as a small group, or coming on, so you don't have to take them all on at once. Your characters are not quite up. The player characters are not up to the task of all 4 trolls at once. The options are there to break it down. Chambers, the task. Pretty straightforward. Merchant offers you some gold, gives you some information, wants to recover his stuff, preferably recovering his crew too, if they're still around, and you kill the trolls, and you get to root through the trolls' trash, or latrine, to get whatever you can keep. In addition, right? Starting the players, aids, obstacles, as if 4 trolls are not obstacle enough for level 2 or 3 levels. Characters. The other Mirkwood is populated with other evil creatures. See tables, section 6 for specific encounters. Well, sure. If you're sure that they need a bit of a challenge, you can give them more challenge, right? Nocturnal troll encounters. So I actually have a little chart here that allows you to roll randomly to see how many are in the caves, how many are outside, etc., etc. Counters the trolls. Now we get to chapter or adventure 5, the tithing train. Once again, this adventure may follow trolls or may stand alone. Gimbel's tail. This is fine fellows. Gimbo, may or may not turn into a bear. Actually, it says here he doesn't, but he is a baroning and is bear-like in his hairsuit, what have you, attributes and size, etc., etc. Anyway, he ran into some cooperative orcs who spilled the beans on a bunch of loot heading to the Necromancer and Wind and Wear just before they conveniently croaked on Grimbold's weapon. I guess pleading for your life and exchanging valuable information, sometimes does not pay off, especially if you're an orc, but often if you're a human too, because We all see no high character players who, yeah, you know. So the idea is the orcs, blah blah, players, etc., etc. Couple of NPC, mostly break down the the orcs themselves, the leader, the secondary leader, so on and so forth, the terrain, the surroundings, an old broken down keep where the whole, hence the picture up front where the orcs have taken up holding and what's going on inside the keep, various rooms, quarters that are now trashed and stunk up and plenty of trash piles to dig through. Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, AIDS. Party with has its wits, always a great thing. Has its experience, hopefully. Its own supplies, man, given. And Grimble. Yeah, Grimble, right. Yeah, right, that's it. Right, yep, right. Good. Yeah, he's a pretty good size fellow by himself. And the GM may provide other NPCs, say Section 5.2, healing herbs, minor magical items and supplies, all of which are available in Lake Town. You've, of course, gone back to Lake Town between adventures, between killing spiders and killing trolls. Which I guess you would have, because you've either met Grimbold at the local town, the local village thing that passes for a pub, or you went to Lake Town. It kind of suggests that you went to Lake Town. This is how you run into the guy that hired you the first time. Anyway, Orc's treasure can be divided equally among all survivors after you've, of course, rooted through the cesspits to get it and cleaned it off, and preferably cleaned yourself off. Since Grimble is providing information on the tithe, location of the keep, he will want first choice of treasure, and this is for the treasure choice itself. Excuse me, not the orcs. Encounters the orcs, right? The orcs garrisoning the keep. The orcs protecting the treasure train, what there is of it. Encounter table here, beast table there, special herb table, I.C.E. table, pretty much extra product listing for Rollmaster and related stuff. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, what you gonna go do? What you gonna do when the orcs come for you? What you gonna do when you're gonna kill them, right? You're gonna step on them, you're gonna smash them, you're gonna mash their heads in, gut them, take everything you can get, take everything you can't get. Don't forget to get Grimbold his cut, unless you think you can take Grimbold, because there's always those NPCs or those player characters types that always want to go after why share one last person to share the treasure with, right? Yeah. So the keep, so on and so forth. It says here the obstacle. Keys protected by 30 orcs. Once the orcs have been dealt with, the party must cope with the treasure, some of which is protected by traps. Yeah, your typical adventure. So, there you have it, my friends. Denizens, the Dark Woods, a la Eastern Adventures of Eastern Mirkwood, or Western Lake Town, however you want to look at it. On a side note, while I was looking for a picture of the picture so I could put it on my thing and use this for a thumbnail, I encountered easily, when my first Google pops up, you can get a PDF version of this for free. Just gotta Google Denizens of the Dark Woods, and there it is in the list, and download it pretty quick. Yeah, just if you don't see them laying around the shelves, these PDFs come in handy. And if nothing else, like I said, these things are some good reads. Even a lot of these still fill in a little niche, a tinier niche of the overall world setting, and gives us some flavor and some things to work with. So, I'm Rick the Fat Man, and you're not. Till next time, keep yourself safe.